Yo, what's going on everyone? Brian and Jim here with Drink a Beer and Play a Game, and today we're going to discuss the worst NES soccer game, and of course we're talking about Goal 2. Jim, what the fuck you doing?
I don't want it.
Get over here and do your intro piece.
I'm clashing. Hold on. Ah! This was developed by Toes and published by Jalico. It was released... Jalico! Tomato. Anyway, it was released for the NES and the Super NES. It came out in 1992. It's the sequel to the first Goal, and ew, does it have some problems. Let's get into it.
Since we're not going to do a video review of the original Goal, it's worth mentioning this game actually looks a lot better. They included a little bit more detail with the sprites and a lot more of the cutscenes. But that's about the most we're willing to praise this game in the graphics, because overall, the zoomed-in approach on a soccer game makes it really difficult to navigate around the field, and if you've seen our earlier NES football game reviews, you know Jim and I hate the goddamn isometric view. I don't know why they thought it was a good idea, but here it is. As far as the colors and the detailing, it's soccer. There's not a whole lot to say. We weren't really that impressed, but once again, when you compare it to its predecessor, it looks better. So when it comes to scores, I gave it a 6 and Jim gave it a 7. So I'm gonna add 2 beers. One for that goddamn isometric view, and one for the fact they feel the need to zoom the camera out when you go to pass to your teammates.
The sound I can keep pretty short because, honestly, there isn't that much in the game. You get one real song throughout most of the gameplay, and it's the same song looping over and over. It's not a bad little track, and it actually doesn't really get on your nerves either, so maybe after a few hours of playing straight it can, but in short sessions it's not bad. The sound effects get the job done, but they're very minimal, and overall it's a package that's, okay. So, with it being so damn average, we gave it a perfectly average score of 5s. And when it comes to beer, I'll give it 1 average beer.
Well, so, as some of you saw, Jim tends to score shittier games better than they deserve.
Hey!
As you're about to see with this control.
Hey!
You guys remember Road Rash 64. You saw how Jim babied that one.
You gotta get used to it!
And that's a perfect segue, because in this game, you really need to get used to control. Because of that shitty isometric view, your direction is going to be skewed. What you would normally think going up means, it doesn't mean going up. Now, if you're someone who's played other isometric sports games, you might adapt to this a little bit quicker, but if you're like Jim and I and you're enjoying a few beers, chances are it's going to take you a little bit of time. Not to mention that by the end of this game, your fingers are going to be killing you from mashing down that D-pad. Even if you're emulating this game and you have a newer controller, no matter what you're using, you are just constantly pressing that goddamn direction pad with your thumb. So, yeah, you get to build up some calluses on your thumb for a shitty game. Yay, that's fun. Either way, the kicking, it doesn't feel intuitive when every time I try and shoot on Jim, look at this bullshit. It just goes all over the place. And 90% of the time, you just hit the kick button and proceed the ball forward. I know it's kind of like real soccer, but the control really pissed me off, and it hindered me enjoying it at all. So I gave it a 3. Jim, drunk as fuckingly, gave it a 7. I can't explain him.
I didn't really have that many issues. The gameplay can give you some issues, but as far as control itself goes, I think it's fine. It's hampered by the rest of the game and the presentation, but the inputs all work fine and it plays like a soccer game should.
Is that why you couldn't beat me in this clip here?
No, it's because he paid off the goddamn refs and some goddamn bullshit, and all he did was get goddamn fucking yellow card penalty kick bullshit fucking...
Learn how to talk! Ah! Anyway, I'm gonna add 3 beers. 1 for that shitty control, 1 for Jim just being so wrong, and 1 for me beating Jim's ass.
The gameplay. Alright, so here's one of the biggest issues with the game. When you want to do a long distance kick or pass, you kick it, and oh shit, it cuts away to this overhead thing. And what the hell? My players are randomly changing without me picking it, and then it drops. So not only does it completely take you out of the action, it changes the player you were controlling, the player you were trying to control, and you're basically playing catch-up at that point. Besides that, the game's just zoomed in way too much, and it's way too hard to plan out passing to your teammates or lining up shots. along with the problems that come from any isometric sports game. On top of all that, it's kind of a bare bones package. Gone are all the different game modes that you got in the first goal, and you're really left with the tournament, the World Cup mode, and a bunch of exhibition modes. It's pretty weak in that regard. So even though the game kind of plays and is about as fun as the first goal is, even if it's a little smoother playing in general, just the fact of that damn overhead kick thing, we both dropped our scores. So Bri gave it a 3, and I gave it a 6. And as far as beer goes, I'm gonna give it 2 beers. One for that damn cutaway, and one for that goddamn lack of options. Jesus Christ!
Following up the previous title of Goal, which actually had a ton of originality, this game still managed to offer some things we hadn't seen in other NES soccer games. Things such as, it's minor, but hear us out, the coin toss and your line change up. So for those of you who are huge simulated sports fans and love dicking around with the lines, and if you're a huge soccer fan, which...
Nerds!
Yeah. And chances are, if you're a huge soccer fan, you're probably not from the US, or you're in that small sect that is. So, yeah, that's something we didn't care about, but we noticed that's huge. And unfortunately, that goddamn zooming in and out camera. That is original. No other game would do it, and thank God for that. So, when it comes to the scores, we both gave it a 5. And as far as beer, you know what? I'm not even out of beer. Considering the fact that it followed up such an original title, it still offered you something new.
When it comes to replayability, it's a sports game with multiplayer, so blah 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 automatically gets our 5. You get a few game modes so you can go against a computer. For some reason you can watch 2 computers touch wieners, so yeah, I guess that would be fun.
Stop mixing this up with your porn!
Oh yeah. And you also get the World Cup mode, or the Gold Cup, or whatever the hell they call it this time. Who cares? Either way, there's a bunch of different teams, you can set your lineups, and it gives you a reason to go back and form your teams how you want it. Will you want to? Who knows. But if you're a soccer simulation aficionado, you get a lot here. So we both gave it 7s. And as far as beer goes, I will give it 1 beer for that computer-on-computer hot action. Rawr. Ow!
This game, like most of the soccer games on the NES, is playable. And if you're a huge soccer fan, the chances are you're going to find a lot of fun with it. And honestly, it just wasn't a game for Jim and I. We're not huge soccer fans, but we knew that this was the one we had the least amount of fun with. We'll absolutely never go back to this one. So, when it comes to scores, I gave it a 3, Jim gave it a 6. Jim was willing to overlook the annoying-ass control and the boring-ass gameplay to recognize that this was a game that did offer a decent amount. Me, I was a little more petty, and I still hate this game, so I couldn't muster anything more than that 3. When we combined all of our scores together, it rounds out to a 5, as average can be. There may be some of you who are hardcore soccer fans who might have really loved this one, but for us, this was clearly the worst NES soccer game. For a casual fan. When it comes to the beer pairing, I had to choose a beer that really splits people down the middle, and I had to go with the Pabst Blue Ribbon. Listen, there's absolutely nothing wrong with a beer being cheap, but some people are going to give you shit for liking this beer. Now, most of them are beer snobs, so you should ignore it, but then again, there are the hardcore people who think this truly is the best beer ever. Just like me and Jim, we have 2 different opinions about this game, so we wanted to get a beer that would really satisfy that same criteria. Plus, you can drink a lot of these sons of bitches. So, get yourself at least 2 6-pack, if not a case, and enjoy yourself. But remember to drink your beers and play your games responsibly. As always, guys, thanks for checking out this video, and if you enjoyed it, make sure you give us a thumbs up, leave some comments, or better yet, why not subscribe? Till next time, guys, cheers.